Okay, here we go. All right, let me start all over. All right, so Marianne and I were talking about our systems, our schedules, and what mine looks like, and she's working on hers, and I said, well, let me just tell you what my morning looks like because having five kids, she knows it can be like really chaotic. You've got this whole day planned out, and boom, you got a sick kid. That happened to me this week. And then I get them back in school, and boom, you got another sick kid, and you've got doctor's appointments. And so that is the beauty of our business is the flexibility. And so if you are struggling with systems, we're going to talk about systems today, but I want to release you from 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 the what's in your mind and the corporate America version of checking off the boxes, okay? Because we're not that kind of business, and we do have the freedom and flexibility. And honestly, there's not a lot of things in our business that has to be done. And Mary Kay, that's why Mary Kay would say it's God first, family second, and career third. Okay. Not always putting your business 33rd, but you can follow that order so that there's no guilt. I always tell people when I do finally get my lake house or my beach house, I've already got a name for it. It's present to the moment because that's what I want you to be able to do is be present to the moment. So when you do have your systems and you do like today was my off day. I took a Sunday off. And it was good because I didn't feel good, so I didn't end up going to church. And I was telling Wanda, it's like I was just looking around because I couldn't get outside and play. I didn't feel like playing tennis. Was gonna play tennis with the kids today, and I didn't feel like it. And so I was just sitting there like, what do I do? I don't have anything to do because it was my off day. And so we have that freedom to be able to just do nothing and have no guilt because that's what we scheduled ourselves to do. So I want to tell you just quickly before I go through my list of talking about your systems, and Marianne's going to share some things like my day. Um, so what I do, you guys know, is if I had to tell you the first 2 hours of my morning, that is probably the most consistent. That is what is nailed down and it doesn't change. I get up at 5:45, I make smoothies for my kids, I make their lunch, and I start my dinner. I have all those meals done by 7 a.m. Okay. Um, Saturday, I do my when I if I'm not at work and I get home from doing a party, I sit down Saturday afternoon. I order my kids. I let my kids eat at school twice a week, and I go ahead and have to have that in by midnight on Saturday night. I put that in and I order my groceries for a pickup for Andy to pick up after church if I go off to work, or I pick him up if I'm not. And so what I do is I also plan my meals. So on my big dry erase board, I have all my meals planned out for this week because we have a really busy week. I've got tennis, we've got baseball, I've got virtual parties, I've got lots of things going on. And then I've got, I'm working. So I got parties, work, facials, whatever. It's a busy week. And so that that kind of frees me up because when I don't have those things done, my whole week is very, very stressful. Okay. I'm like, oh my God, I'm running around. I have to get lunch to my kids by 11. And then what if I had scheduled like having a facial on one of these days at 10 and have another facial at 11? What if I didn't have their lunch and it was on the days that they were not eating? I have to figure out what to feed them that's hot before it just totally messes me up. So when I say getting your systems in place is vital, it really, really is. Okay. And so I get my groceries ordered, get my meals planned out. It doesn't take that long to do. And then I wake up 5:45, my coffee's already made, and boom, 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 I have those three meals made, started, ready to go. And then I can go do my work. Okay. And if there's a wrench thrown in there, I can handle it. I can't handle not being able to feed my kids. That's where my stress comes from, okay? Is not being able to get something for my kids to eat and worried that I'm going to forget that. Now I know that is just isolated for me. Because like if you've got small kids, they're in public school, there's a hot meal there. Our private school, you have to plan it out. So those are my stressors, okay? And I've learned to have those systems in place. Now, what I do with my business is when I was a new consultant and I was still in corporate America, was you guys know this, you've heard me talk about it. Twice a week, I would eat my lunch. I could eat my lunch in 8 minutes and I would run to my car and I would book. I had a daytime booking and then I had a nighttime booking blocked off, okay? Because you're going to have people who do not respond to you during the day, and you're going to have people who don't respond to you at night. And you've got to be able to merge those, meld those together, and figure out, okay, she didn't respond at day. I'm going to try to reach her at night. Here's why. You've got to put yourself in that person, that prospect's life. She might be at work all day to where she cannot look at her phone. She might have all these text messages coming in, okay? And by the time she gets home, life starts happening. She's got to feed her kids, whatever, go to all these events. And then she sits down at 8:30 at night, and she's got all these different things to look at, and she forgets, she's tired. And so we wear our feelings on our shoulders and we're like, oh, she's ghosting me, right? No, you might just need to figure out what her strength zone is. We've got to figure out our strength zone. And so with your strength zone, and this is part of your process, this is part of your systems. Like you've got to do the things that you don't want to do when you're in your strength zone. So obviously me telling you guys my morning routine, what would you think my strength zone is? It's in the morning. I get the most done. If somebody asks me to do something at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, forget it. During the week. On the weekends, I'm fine. But you can pretty much forget it because between 12 and 2, if I'm working that night, I keep a really light schedule. If I'm working that night, because I got up so early, I have lunch. Make sure all my stuff's packed in the car. And after lunch, I take a power nap. Okay. I'm going to give you permission to take power naps. But our business is so unique that like we rise early, we go to bed late. Okay. We have to be on when everybody else is getting off, right? Because a lot of times our parties start at 6:30. Well, you got people that they're winding down, but we go into a home and we have to provide the entertainment, okay? We're the energy giving. We are upbeat. We're personable. We're looking sharp. You're going to need a nap, okay? So a power nap is a must. And so if you guys know I'm coming to your house at 6:30 during the weeknight, guess what? Between 12 and 2, I've taken a nap. I don't need a 2 hour. Here's the crazy thing. I don't need a 2 hour nap. I only need a 20 to 30-minute nap. Truly a power nap. And I jump up, I'm ready to go. All right. I get my kids home from school, and guess what's already ready? Their dinner. Because I started the prep work or I put it in a crock pot by 7 a.m. So that's just some of the things that I do. Now I want to talk about systems, and I don't want to miss anything, so I'm going to read. There will always be. Why can I not ever read my handwriting? Okay, hold on. All right, so your day. So here's what I'm going to say. Your day doesn't have to be planned out. So we talked about that. Our business is very unique. It's very we come into this business for the flexibility. You don't have to put in 8 to 10 hours every day. All right. You don't have to put yourself in that box. The people who do work this business 8 to 10 hours a day, every single day, I'm just going to tell you, they're unrelatable. And when it comes time, I can tell you that Mary Kay should say, if you get to the top and your family's not intact, it wasn't worth it. Okay. And so you don't have to work this business 8 to 10 hours every single day, 7 days a week. All right. Having good systems though are so important. If you keep missing your goal, you realize it's more about this, you'll realize that it's more about the systems in place. What's the difference between systems and a goal? All right. A goal is results that you're trying to achieve. Goal is results that you're trying to achieve. Systems is the process that leads you to that result. Okay. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a goal and not have systems. A goal without systems is just really daydreaming. And unfortunately, a lot of us do that. We just spend time dreaming about what we want, but we have no clue how to get it. And it's just about getting started. So our business is simple. So how do you get it? Book, coach, sell, recruit. Book, coach, sell, recruit. It's that simple. But what are you doing? When are you going to book, coach, sell, recruit? That's the systems I'm talking about. Looking at your date book and saying, okay, when am I going to work? So in the very beginning, with me as a new consultant having a full-time job, I had to look at my date book and say, what day am I working? I had my training on Monday nights. That's when we used to go to a meeting place. So you go to a meeting place, you could take guests and earn while you learn, kind of like our dinner and a makeover. And then, so that was Monday night. And Tuesday night, I would have my own party. And then the rest of those times, I was with my family. Okay, 'cause it was important because I worked all day. I was away from my babies. And so it was just eating that elephant one bite at a time. I mean, it's not rocket science. It was every Tuesday night. I fought hard for those Tuesday night appointments, fought hard. And I would get a win. Okay. If I had one new face every week, that was me winning the day. That was me winning the week. Okay. If I got a booking, that was me winning. Okay. And so your systems are the process that leads you to the goal. Here's the thing, the score will always take care of itself. Okay. If you like, it's in like you're in a basketball game. You don't sit there, see the basketball players just all staring up at the board waiting for the score to change. No, they're out there, they're dribbling to the net, they're stealing the ball. Same with baseball players and football players. Okay. You have to get in the game for the score to present itself. All right. You have to get your systems in place for the score to present itself. Okay. For you to be able to cross that finish line. So goals are not useless. So somebody, you might think, well, what good is a goal if you're just going to have these systems and do these things? Well, it's the direction you have. The goal is not useless. It's needed to set the direction and set you on the path that you need to be on. Systems are best for making progress. Okay, the problems that arise is when you spend, like I said, all your time daydreaming about it and you don't put anything in action. Okay, you don't put anything in action, and don't put yourself in a box. There's so many people, I've seen it, so many people stop Mary Kay or quit Mary Kay because they missed that first goal. You are not your goal. Okay, if you miss your goal or you reach your goal, your happiness in your enjoyment of this business shouldn't be about whether you finish that goal. You need to learn to enjoy, excuse me, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. So like, I'll give you this example. We are really, really close to earning our pink Cadillac. I haven't been in a Cadillac since 2018, and I want a pink Cadillac. We are really, really close. But guess what? My happiness and my joy for this business isn't wrapped around that Cadillac. Okay. My systems are still in place. I have systems in place to earn that Cadillac. I'm just going to keep chopping wood. All right. And if the tree falls and we earn the Cadillacs, great. If it doesn't, guess what? I'm going to keep going. I am still successful. I am not a failure because I missed this Cadillac again. Some people don't think like that. They miss that goal and they're done. Like they're just done. That is not how your systems should be set up. You've got everything wrapped too much around the goal. And if you didn't reach the goal and your systems aren't in place, then you were just daydreaming. Okay. All right. So, and it's misguided. It's misguided. And you know what? You can't sell what you have if you run your business like that, because people will not see your joy. They won't see your happiness. I mean, I think when you talk to our like me, Marianne, even Debbie just earned a car. Debbie enjoyed Mary Kay and had joy in her business before she ever earned her car. She never stopped telling young people, you need to do this. I wish I had done this when I was your age. She enjoys the process. She enjoys the people. It's not about the goal or earning the car. It just happened. One day she was like, when am I going to get a team? This was like at seminar. When am I going to get a team? I'm like, Debbie, trust the process. Trust the process. Oh my gosh, we come home and she goes on target for a car in September, end of October, November, October 1. She finishes November 30th. In 2 months, it can turn around just like that because she had her systems in place. Okay. So changes are your path. Oh wait, what am I skipping? I should never get ahead of myself. Why do I do that? Don't restrict your satisfaction to one scenario when there are so many paths to success. So just because you can't say, I am going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy till I earn that car, or I'm not going to be happy till I become a sales director. No, there's so many areas to enjoy in this business, and there's so many paths to success and to your victory and to winning your day. And guys, we get to create a beautiful life. You guys have heard me say, if I become a national, great. If I don't, great. I have designed an amazing life. I am so busy right now because our unit is, active. We've got a really strong unit. It's tennis season. My tennis team in the last 3 years have grown from 8 to 32. And I love that I have that flexibility that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday after school, I get to coach tennis. And it's a full life. It's a full life. So if I miss that Cadillac, I am not a failure. I have created that, praise God, a full life. And so enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. And you just have to keep chopping wood and knowing your systems. And so what are your specific systems? You got to know when you're booking your daily or weekly booking. I'm just going to tell you, mine wasn't every day. You guys heard me. I'm a all or nothing. Like I like to book all at once. I can't do an hour here, hour there. I can't do that. I'm like, get it done, get them on my books, move on next week, get it done and move on. You might be like that. Okay. I can book 10 out and then not book for a while. And then because I got new bookings coming. And then if those cancel, fall off, then I go back in. I work my business a little differently because I don't have these little pockets of time. I can't work like that. It's get in my office 2 hours. My goal is to get 10 bookings or 8 bookings, 7 bookings, whatever. And with my date book that's open, and I've got all my other family stuff already filled in so that I know what day I'm working. You guys know how I work. You ask me for my dates, I give you my dates. And you already know that I will be there because I've already given you only the dates that do not have my kids' events and my personal events and stuff like that. All right, Marianne, I'm going to turn it over to Marianne. She's got some, with her 5 kids, she's got systems in place. Marianne's very specific. I want to say this, Marianne. You and I are 2 different personalities. So I think when Marianne's on the chart, she's an IC, okay? When I'm on the chart, I'm a DS. Those 2 I battle myself for a different reason than Marianne battles herself. So you need to study the personality charts. DS, they're the opposite of each other. I'm very dominant. I'm very driven. I'm not afraid of goals. I'll go get it. I know what I want. But then my S rose up to be equal with my D. It's the more kids I had, the higher my S score went. Very family oriented. Family comes first. I don't like to miss anything with my family. So I battle myself. And so Marianne, our personality, shooting from the hip, woo, woo, woo. And then she's got this C personality that's just coming out of nowhere with guns a-blazing. And she's like, I need systems. I'm like, no, you don't. That is not who you are. You don't need systems. So she's battling that C, but her I just wants to go and do it. Am I right, Marianne?
Oh, absolutely. And at first, I really didn't even understand what you were saying. I didn't see it like that, but I literally right now am understanding what you're saying, that my two personalities are butting heads.
Yes.
And so coming in, I was a very high personality, and I had absolutely zero systems or organizations. And I even struggled with that as a teacher, like grading papers and getting those in on time. I would even ask people for help, and like nobody would help me. But so thankfully, this business allows me to thrive as I am. Now, I have learned, and I have learned how to get better. And because, you think about people that you admire who are very successful, they probably are juggling way more than you, but they're getting more done. But we all have the same amount of time in a day. So how does that happen? It's we learn in situations like these how to make one thing better, how to make one thing better. Just a little tip, a little nugget to take things off of your plate. And so same thing like Michelle, planning meals ahead of time, that is a huge thing for me. If our family does not plan meals in advance, a week in advance or 2 weeks in advance, whatever works for you guys, um, I I feel like I get stuck in thinking about food and going to the store, and it takes up my whole day. I'm like, how did I survive as a teacher? Okay, like I was not available to do this for 40 hours. So um yeah, and so speaking of boundaries and things like that, just a little side tip I thought of, I do have some kids who are in high school, and sometimes they forget things, and we want to teach them how to plan ahead, because if they forget something and they ask because they know that I have flexibility, which is a perk that I like, that doesn't mean I'm always going to come to their rescue. And so sometimes they got to suffer and not have their gym clothes, or not have their water bottle, or not have their extra snack or lunch, or no, they can't stay after for this activity because they didn't tell us ahead of time, and it messes up my transportation schedule. So sometimes we have to tell them no, because they didn't plan that ahead, and they can't just, I'm not going to drop my job and my schedule to do everything on account of them, not planning. So you might have other people in your life that aren't kids, that is a thing that needs to be talked about and addressed. So that is the system for us. We started implementing a family planning time. I think it's also great for just couples if you don't do this. And, each week we sit down, and each family member is like, okay, what do you have going on this week? We write it down and we put it on the calendar. And our kids who are old enough, we have the shared family calendar. They are responsible for putting their rehearsals and their things on the calendar. So I was horrible at this. There's so many times I was getting ready for an appointment, and my husband was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have an appointment. And he'd roll his eyes and he'd huff and puff because I didn't communicate. I didn't tell him, I was really bad at organization, and I had it on my paper calendar and it was in my brain. I just didn't tell him. So that really helped. That was an area of growth for me. I'm really good at that now because I love my husband. I want peace in my marriage and my family, and I want him to love my business. He loves it when I have an appointment. He's so excited. He can see that calendar and he can see if I don't have an appointment. And so have that family planning meeting. I now also, that my kids are old enough, and I realized, my husband eats too, so he should come up with some meal ideas. Why do I have to be the only one making up meal ideas? So that takes some of the load off of me. So that frees me up to do things that I love. Okay. So having that communication, and then um, those are the main things. And then like once you get into your rhythm of, we've got your virtual makeup appointments, you've got your virtual skincare class appointments. If you have an in-person one, when's your training time? Get your big rocks in at the beginning of the month. Set your family calendar, sit down. If you have a spouse or whatever, get all the family things in there first. Get your church things in there first on the calendar. That's a rhythm. That's a system. Hey, we're getting up, first of the month, or, we're the night before, we're having a date night where we're planning the month, planning the quarter. I love the phrase that says people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And so the better you can get at those kind of big rocks, the most important things, the things you value, getting those locked in first and then filling in, the better. Because I love also living by design and not default. Okay. Because if you're not intentional about that stuff, you will live by default. And that's not what we're called to do. God has such an amazing purpose for every single one of you. And you have influence. And so how does your Mary Kay business serve that purpose?
Very good, Marianne. So funny story in the very beginning, I was I personality too. And Andy, just like Chris, loved my business, knew the power of me going, but I didn't communicate it. And he would come home and I'd be getting ready to leave. And he's just like Chris. He needed to know all day if he was coming home and had to make tuna helper. Like that's every Tuesday he made tuna helper. Then the kids got tired of it, and then every Tuesday was spaghetti. I mean, and so like he had to have those systems, and so now we have this big giant dry erase board. It's got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I mean, it helped me. So like Marianne said, those were skills I didn't have. And I just was planning and I'd forget to communicate. And oh my gosh, thank God that we teach this in Mary Kay because it's just life skills that just help. And I know a lot of you don't have 5 kids like we do, but so imagine how much, your schedule is, and you might even, your kids are grown. So just, just plug in your Mary Kay, plug in your full-time job and, and then gosh, it's going to be so much easier. But, and then you've got probably more time to focus on what you want in your Mary Kay. And you can plan that out without distractions and interruptions. Y'all, I went to school one time, several times, 6 times in one day. 6 times in one day. Yeah. Go make a delivery, come back, a kid needed something. Go back home, come back, make another delivery, come back 6 times. One time I got to the school and kid didn't even have shoes on. So yeah,
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And why this is so important and why it kind of evolves, you think about, your parents, what was their style like? I grew up with a stay-at-home mom who cooked 3 meals a day from scratch, and my dad worked all day, and she taught us how to clean the house. We had a system for cleaning and all that kind of stuff. So then but my family dynamic is we both worked full time and I'm still trying to make meals from scratch 3 times a day. And it was so stressful. And I'm like, why can't I do this in one day? I had 3 kids at this point. I realized, oh, I'm not at home for 50 hours a week. And that's when we started eating hot dogs and mac and cheese. And I didn't feel bad. Now I have evolved and I've also learned how to eat healthier faster. So just give yourself some grace. This is a learning process, and now that we're in a totally different dynamic where a lot of us are working from, both families are from home. And so now it's like, you ain't got no quiet time ever. And so just all these kinds of things are really, really helpful. And just another little plug, I'm also learning about something called Fair Play Life. And it is recognizing the mental and emotional load that us women carry with so many of the hats that we did not have before, and how it's kind of affecting us, and how, how we can communicate and share that with spouses. And our situation is unique because when you do go away for appointments, your husband does get to help out and father them because he's their father. And in other families, ask your friends, when have they ever left for a weekend, for 4 days, 4 times a year? When have they got, we go to seminar, career conference, leadership, fall retreat, Thursday nights, Saturday morning, we work out away when the spouse is at home with the kids. Most people don't get that. And so their husbands don't know how to function. And so at first I was like, I don't feel like I need to have this conversation with him because he does so much more than most people, but it was still there. So if that's something, that might be a resource for you guys to look into if you feel like you're doing it all and you don't know how to talk about it.
I used to always say that Mary Kay helped Andy become a great dad because he did build that relationship. And when he was, they love for me to, my kids were never hanging on my legs begging me not to go because they were going to have so much fun with daddy. And then I used to say, well, why can't you, clean up the living room? But they're pitching, I'm out of town, and I call home and they do a FaceTime and they've got a tent in the living room, or they're doing all this. I'm like, oh my God, my house is a mess. But you know what? That's what they love. They get to spend daddy time and they get to do fun things. And that's, you've got prospects that are looking to come into this business and they've got small children. That is a plus, not a minus, that they might have to, go and their husband might have to bathe their children at night. You know, I had a consultant, she's like, I can't do Mary Kay because I come home and my kids don't have a bath. I'm like, you know, your kids don't need to bathe every night.
Yeah. And even if you don't have kids, you know, you're older and everything, it
No.
might be a dynamic of, you know, just how can you guys share the load just a little bit differently,
No.
because you do work too. You do work too. You got to recognize that this is a job. It's not a hobby where you're spending money. Okay.
Yes.
You're making money. And again, that goes back to our money management, where they need to know that you're making money. You need to show them and everything, because that really helps out with them being one to like, oh heck yeah, I'll cook for, you know, I'll see you when you come back. I'll have dinner done for you. You know.
Yep. Yep. All right, guys, I know we went a little over. It's recorded. You can watch it again. I hope this was helpful. And don't forget, month end is on Tuesday, and then March 1st starts up, and we got to finish our goal. Seminar is going to be right around the corner. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.